Welcome back to the channel, guys. Got a good one for you. Another clean ZL1 Camaro, 2019, shipped all the way from Washington. Mr. Kanzler shipped it to us as a bone stock vehicle that wanted a lot of horsepower, but he also plans on using it. He is the guy that's gonna drive the car on the street and also take it to the track, and he wanted to utilize the factory 1.7 liter supercharger. So let me pop the hood and tell you a little bit more about it. All right, so Mr. Kanzler, his goal for this vehicle and build is to be able to hop in his car, drive it to the drag strip, run nines, and head home. The wheel and tire combination we have on it now is for just looks and car shows and cruising around. He does have an aftermarket set of wheels on the back of it, but after talking to our sales staff, we decided to go with what we call our 900 horsepower package, which is kind of an underrated when it comes to our horsepower numbers, because we rate everything at the flywheel when it comes to horsepower and not the rear wheels. In this car in particular, as well as we did two of these almost at the same time, both automatics, one from Texas, obviously he's from Washington, that made almost 900 rear wheel horsepower with this little 1.7 liter blower on E85. So essentially, guys, the package is a max effort 1.7 liter supercharger, but again, because he's racing it at a drag strip as well as roll racing, we go ahead and add plenty of extra cooling mods when it comes to intake air temps. As I've said many times in a lot of our videos, the factory 1.7 liter supercharger, when we spin it really hard, like we are in this case, it creates a lot of intake air temps. It rises, and it's hard for it to cool back down until you are actually driving down the highway to get air flowing across the heat exchanger. So in this case, we take the stock supercharger, we port it. It's got a Kong port all the way up to the front, the snout. We do a larger one, I think it's a Nick Williams 103 throttle body on it, and we do an aftermarket heat exchanger in the front, and I can show you all in a little bit. We do an ice tank in the back, and that's good for daily driving, just an extra, I think it's like 2 gallons of coolant and water flowing through it to keep it efficient, just normal driving. But then when you're at the drag strip, you can actually drain the water and put ice in it. So again, efficient. We port the supercharger, the engine, obviously more efficient when it comes to the cylinder heads, and then our complete cam package. So cam, springs, retainers, push rods, all the goodies that we normally do, new lifters, etc., etc. And the blower speed is the main difference from this package to our other packages, because we do add the cooling mods. Like I said, the heat exchanger, I'm kind of being repetitive here, I'm sorry. But because we add the heat exchanger and the ice tank in the back, I can spin this blower harder, which I never would do, because it still stays efficient and keeps the air temps down. If we did not add the heat exchanger and or the tank in the back, I would not run as much boost as I'm running right now with this setup. So obviously the engine's efficient with our cam and cylinder head package. Long tube headers as always. I think the exhaust on this car is a little bit louder than stock. He came in with a catback already. No, I'm lying. Different car. Sorry, we do too many of these. It was the other ZL1 that had different catbacks. So he still has factory mufflers, so it's long tube headers, connection pipes, and factory mufflers. But while we're back here, let me just show you the ice tank. So again, Mr. Kanzler can just drive his car around town and no maintenance. There's just, I'll call it coolant and water. We usually put water and water wetter in it, and or coolant. So depending on what state you're in, we don't want anything to rust. And it looks nice and pretty with the lid on it. All the water lines are run around the vehicle, frame rails up through to the heat exchanger. And again, this makes it nice for just driving around town. It makes it more efficient because it's an extra 2 gallons of water running through the system, as well as he's at the drag strip now. Check this out. You literally just flip this, whoop, and we should be draining some water, which I don't want to pee right here.
Yeah, it was dripping.
I didn't want to open it all the way and make a big mess for y'all. But you can stick it here, it makes it nice, guys. So when you're at the drag strip, the way people sometimes route this stuff, a lot of people install things, I call it on race cars, and they don't think about actually having to use it or work on it, and it drives me nuts. So when we install custom race car stuff, I like to make it user-friendly for the customer. So again, you can just grab any oil drain bucket or that you can bring with you to the track, stick it there so you don't make a mess of the drag strip, open it up, drain it, open the lid here, pack it full of ice, and the way that the tank works is you can almost drain this as much as possible, and the way it goes down, you'll still have water in the bottom of it so it won't cavitate the pump. Then you pack that thing with ice, circulate it, and the supercharger you'll literally feel on top. In between, like before I make my pass, I always top it off, I key it on, I circulate, and you can feel this, which leads to the bricks. It'll actually sweat and be super cold. So start the car up, we know our intake air temps are good. Another addition, obviously he can run 93 octane for just driving around town, and then put E85 in it with our flex fuel sensor to add the extra, I think it's 130 rear wheel horsepower I think we gained going from pump gas to E85. And again, making this much boost on a stock blower, we do a custom breather setup. So as y'all can see, we vent the crankcase. So from each valve cover, we're venting to here, and this vents to atmosphere. Again, big boosted cars, whether it's a drag race car, road race car, you name it, any big boosted car, whether it's turbo or supercharger, you want to have a good breather system on there to relieve any crankcase pressure, so you have to blow front seal, rear seal, stuff like that. So this car is built with the horsepower in it, in the transmission. We also had to add full suspension to it as well. So it has full BMR suspension under the back of this thing. It does have the adjustable rod ends. Those of you watching at home, if you're interested in sending your car to us, talk to us about what your goals are for the vehicle, because again, this customer is going to drag race the car, so it has spherical rod ends. They do make noise. Like right now it doesn't, but over time you might hear some noise. Some customers don't like that, so we always talk to our customers beforehand, make sure they're okay with it. It's just a little bit better for drag race purposes. More of the street car guys that are just going to drive the car on the street a lot, we'll do more of it's a non-adjustable, but with the polyurethane mounts. That way there's no squeaking or no noise while driving. And I can attest, I've driven this car obviously here, and there's no noise right now, but over time, the spherical rod ends, because they're solid, you'll hear them start making noise, and you can grease them up to quiet them back down over time. For those of you interested and curious at home, you have a BMR setup that makes noise, you can grease them up to quieten them up, but over time they will get loud again. But this car, full suspension, complete fuel system as well. So we run a bigger mechanical fuel pump and bigger DI injectors. So again, 900 rear wheel horsepower, guys. That's with no methanol or no extra crap you got to add to it. You just put the gas in and go. So we have obviously a big low side fuel system. So we have 60 PSI, always at least 60 PSI, feeding the mechanical pump, big bore pump, big DI injectors. Again, a lot of people use meth on these cars as a fuel source, as well as to help intake air temps. I just don't like using it as a fuel source in case these cars get shipped all over the country, and all it takes is one little thing to fail, and if it doesn't work, it's gonna go lean and hurt itself. So I like building them this way, so the customer can put 93 octane in it, or straight E85, or a mix, and there's nothing he can mess up when he gets home. It's just how much horsepower it's gonna make. So again, it's super clean car. Now these are heavy cars, guys, and again, I try to say this in my videos, we do real world testing. It is literally 104 degrees outside, so I'm gonna go run a draggy in this thing to show y'all what it runs 60 to 130. Know that I'm not putting ice in it, I'm not letting it cool down. This is like anyone here in Houston would be driving down the road and someone pulls up next to them and we hit it and go. So it's not best case scenario, but you know, the DA isn't great, but the car's, I know it's gonna run its ass off. But with that being said, it will not go anywhere with these wheels and tires on it. And I kind of mentioned it earlier, the customer at home, he does have, I think it's a 17-inch weld wheel with a Mickey Thompson drag radial, which we're in luck, we have a spare set at the shop. So I'm gonna head back to the shop, I'm gonna put the welds on it and go test this thing. Shift points, as always, we always do, so that way he can put it in manual mode, from a roll, it'll shift by itself, or drag racing, he can put it in manual mode. It can take off in second gear for drag racing, depending on the track conditions or street conditions if he street races it, or he can leave it in drive to take off in first gear. So there's many options to these things. I kind of say a lot of what we do when it comes to tuning. It's the best way for when the customer gets home, no matter what state they're in, we give them options to tune the car themselves by, if the track's really bad, put it in second gear, it's gonna leave better. If you're street racing it from a dig, put it in second gear, it's gonna leave better than first gear, because the first gear ratio on these things are pretty steep, being it's an 8-speed automatic. But I'm rambling now. Yeah, I'm gonna head back to the shop. I'm gonna put the wheels and tires on it. I'm gonna go see how fast this thing will go. The last one we did, I'll call it our 850 package, on a Toyo, was like a 6.2, 6130. So I know in good conditions this would be a low 5-second 6130, but if it goes anywhere in the 5s on a day like today, it'll be great. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. Alright, it looks like we have 2019 ZL1 Camaro, Mr. Kanzler from Washington. Just got here, Frankie checked it in, just made our baseline pulls on it. Low mileage car, 18,000 miles. Just made our baseline pulls as we always do. Car's 100% stock right now. Usually 500, 530, 550 rear horsepower stock. As you can see, 515 to 520. Torque numbers are right over 500, just as it should be. So now we'll get it off the rack and get it built.
Alright, so I ended up removing all the bolts on the lid. I'm just gonna, do you want to do like a little talk through thing, or you want to just get action shots, or?
I'm filming you right now. I'm using this footage right here.
Alright, well, cut.
Action!
So today's episode, we got this ZL1 here, coming in for an 850 package. We're gonna go ahead and upgrade the valve springs and push rods, along with the cam. He specified he wanted the scare small children and dogs cam, so we're gonna try to fulfill his dreams of terrorizing neighborhoods on the weekends. He's also going to head and upgrade to an E85 flex fuel system, so we're going to run some E through it, go ahead and bump those numbers up a little bit, make some benefits from spinning the blower a little faster with this ATI dampener and front pulley setup. We're also going to go ahead and do a catch cam breather system, since we're going to be pushing a lot more boost. You don't want to get all that oil back in the motor, so we're going to capture it with this catch cam breather system off the valve covers. We've gone ahead and already started taking it apart. We had to go send out the TCM to go get unlocked by HB tuners, but in the meantime we could have that going in the background and start tearing down the motor from here on out. This is a low side fuel pump that goes ahead and drags fuel from the bottom of the tank and supplies it when needed when hitting boost. Since we're doing E85, we got to have the more flow at the low side to feed the high pressure pump. If not, it cavitates and our fuel pressure drops. So we go ahead and install this nice and hidden away under these cover panels. and it's activated under boost. So once it hits a certain PSI, it goes ahead and kicks the pump on and supplies that pump, bypassing the factory one and siphoning from the bottom of the tank. All right, so we're in the process of doing it right now. We got our hob switch here that works off a vacuum. That's where it detects when it hits boost, and it closes the circuit here and activates the relay we have situated over here, and goes ahead and sends power down through those wires into that pump at the bottom. This will get plumbed into the supercharger on the boost side of it, and it'll only see boost. So whenever we hit, I think the threshold's like 5 or 6 PSI, it'll kick on, and it'll stay on until we're out of boost. So it'll always have fuel no matter what. I went ahead and I routed it down through the factory harness. Everything's loomed and routed in the same area, just so it doesn't look out of place. We put some weather protecting sheathing on it, just so, you know, no chafing or corrosion can happen. And then we also put heat wrap on the harness over here on the passenger side, just to make sure once we install our headers, it's not going to cook that harness, because it does come real close to it. Just stuff to mitigate heat, because these things, once they start going, they produce a lot of heat. Alright, so we got the ported blower on there. Went ahead and transferred all our map sensors and stuff from our original blower. That way we still keep all our original sensors and we just use the core. We're going to go ahead and torque it to spec, put the lid on it. We've also tapped the lid for a boost reference for our hob switch. That way we have accurate boost readings of the blower to the hob switch, so that way it can kick on higher boost levels.
Are you getting it?
Are you getting it? We got our ice tank here. I went ahead and ran the lines to the front already, tucked them up through the rear quarters and ran them into the trunk. That way we could shove some ice in here and pull our coolant temps down on the blower. I'm gonna try to see if I could wiggle this thing in there for the 10th time today. So, it's not very graceful. I'm trying to get this thing in here.
Good enough. I'm bad at video, that's your job. Let's see what she does. Manual mode, I'm gonna do 3rd gear. 30. It is on a 17-inch weld wheel with a Mickey Thompson drag radial on it. I think it was a 5.5 seconds, I think. 60 to 130. And again, it's Houston, so it's 100 degrees outside. Air temps are not our friend in this weather, but we do everything we can to keep air temps down for the package like this. And for it to run that's pretty good in these conditions. Alright guys, big things coming here at Model Racecraft in Houston, Texas for 2023. We have a new shop. Land has already been purchased. Building is starting to get built. So we are expanding our company. With that being said, we are going to need more seasoned technicians, whether it comes to the GM platform, as well as expanding to other avenues, some exotics as Lamborghini, McLaren, Ferrari. Any guys out there, technicians, seasoned technicians, again, from the GM world, which is what we're known for, to expanding to new platforms, please give us a call or email parts@latemodelracecraft.com, and please send your resumes there. Again, must have your own tools, seasoned technician. I know you guys out there that just graduated school, we get a lot of resumes for it. I'm not looking for that at the moment right now. We need seasoned technicians. Again, parts@latemodelracecraft.com. Send your resumes today. Hope to see y'all, hear from you soon. Thanks.